Gulf of Hormuz closes, global oil price surges as a result of Iranian war. The world should be expecting economic recession anytime soon. Watch this.
Breaking the Strait of Hormuz is now officially closed. U.S. forces are destroying Iran's navy in real time, and the global oil system is hours away from total shock. One strait, 20 million barrels of oil per day. And right now, that strait is closed. Not threatened, not at risk, closed. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has officially declared the Strait of Hormuz shut. Ships are being told on emergency radio channels that no vessel is allowed to pass. And as of this morning, 150 oil tankers and liquid natural gas carriers are sitting anchored in open waters, unable to move, waiting. Some are carrying billions of dollars worth of crude oil from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and Qatar. They have nowhere to go. Meanwhile, Donald Trump woke up this morning and posted that the United States military has already destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian warships, with more on the way. He wrote, "They will soon be floating at the bottom of the sea also." The U.S. military launched a separate operation called Operation Epic Fury, specifically targeting Iran's ability to control the strait. The U.S. sank an Iranian Jamaran-class corvette at a Chabahar pier in southern Iran. They destroyed Iran's naval headquarters. Trump said plainly that the U.S. is going after the rest of Iran's navy. Iran responded by claiming they fired ballistic missiles at the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. U.S. Central Command immediately went on record and said that is a lie. The Lincoln was not hit. The missiles did not even come close. And the Lincoln is still flying aircraft around the clock in support of ongoing operations inside Iran. So here is where we stand. The world's most important oil choke point is officially closed. The United States is actively destroying Iran's navy to reopen it. Iran is firing missiles at American aircraft carriers. Oil prices have already jumped 8% in a single day. And nobody knows who is actually running Iran right now. This is the most consequential 48 hours the global economy has seen in nearly 2 decades. Everything you know about oil prices, inflation, supply chains, and Middle East power is about to change. Stay with me. I am going to break this down completely. Let us start with the Strait of Hormuz, because if you do not understand what this body of water means to the world, you cannot understand why this moment is so serious. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow passage of water between Iran and Oman at the mouth of the Persian Gulf. At its narrowest point, it is only 33 kilometers wide. That is nothing. You could drive across it in 20 minutes. But through that tiny strip of ocean, every single day passes roughly 20 million barrels of crude oil. That is approximately 20% of all the oil traded on the planet, not 20% of Gulf oil, 20% of all global oil. Saudi Arabia's oil goes through it. Iraq's oil goes through it. Kuwait's oil goes through it. Qatar's liquid natural gas, which heats homes in Germany and Japan and South Korea, goes through it. The UAE's oil goes through it. Every barrel of Iranian oil that has ever been exported has gone through it. 84% of everything that passes through the Strait of Hormuz goes to Asia. China gets most of it. Japan, South Korea, India. These are economies of hundreds of millions of people whose energy runs through this narrow channel. If the strait closes for even 1 week, Asia starts rationing energy. If it closes for a month, we are looking at an economic crisis on the scale of the 1973 oil embargo that sent the world into recession. Iran knows this. They have been threatening Hormuz for decades. Every time tensions rose with the West, Iran reminded the world that they have the ability to close the strait. Now they have actually done it. IRGC ships are broadcasting on emergency maritime radio channels telling tankers not to enter. One oil tanker off the coast of Oman has already been targeted, and 4 of its crew members were injured. Major international shipping companies, including a major Danish shipping group, have suspended all vessel crossings until further notice. And right now, those 150 tankers sitting in open waters are a visual representation of what oil market panic looks like in real time. Now let us talk about what oil prices are actually doing and what analysts say comes next. Brent crude, which is the international benchmark for oil, climbed 8% on Sunday alone. In a single day, it went from the low 70s to $79 per barrel. At one point during intraday trading, it briefly touched $82. That was before markets in Asia fully opened and before the full scope of Hormuz closure was priced in. What does this mean in plain language? Every time oil goes up $10 per barrel, it adds roughly 25 to 30 cents per gallon to gasoline prices in the United States and equivalent amounts in Europe and Asia. A $10 rise also adds between 0.6 and 0.7% to global inflation. That means higher prices on food, on manufactured goods, on anything that is transported, which is everything. Analysts at Capital Economics said that if crude reaches and stays at $100 per barrel, global inflation could jump by nearly a full percentage point. Remember, central banks around the world have been fighting to bring inflation down. A Hormuz closure puts all of that work in reverse. The same analysts said a prolonged conflict keeps prices elevated indefinitely, not just for weeks, but potentially for months or longer, depending on how long this military campaign continues. Goldman Sachs had already built in a $6 war risk premium into their oil models before this attack even happened. That model is now completely obsolete. We are in territory that no financial model fully anticipated because no one modeled a scenario where the U.S. and Israel jointly attacked Iran, killed the supreme leader, began destroying Iran's navy, and Iran closed Hormuz simultaneously in a 48-hour window. The Houthis in Yemen have also announced they will resume their Red Sea attacks. So now you have two choke points under threat: the Suez-Red Sea corridor from the Houthis and the Strait of Hormuz from Iran. Together, those two corridors handle a staggering portion of global maritime trade. If both are disrupted at the same time, shipping routes will need to go around the Cape of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa, adding weeks to voyages and hundreds of millions of dollars in costs that eventually get passed to consumers. Now let us talk about Iran's navy and what the U.S. is doing about Hormuz. Trump confirmed that U.S. forces have sunk 9 Iranian warships. U.S. Central Command confirmed they sank a Jamaran-class corvette, which is one of Iran's larger and more capable vessels at a Chabahar pier on Iran's southern coast. They also destroyed Iran's main naval headquarters in a separate strike. Trump wrote on Truth Social, "I have just been informed that we have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian naval ships, some of them relatively large and important. We are going after the rest. They will soon be floating at the bottom of the sea also. In a different attack, we largely destroyed their naval headquarters. Other than that, their navy is doing very well." This is the specific goal of what the U.S. is calling Operation Epic Fury. The name tells you the strategy. This is not a general bombing campaign. This is a targeted mission to destroy Iran's ability to threaten maritime traffic in the Gulf. The U.S. understands that Iran's greatest leverage in this war is the Strait of Hormuz. If Iran can keep that strait closed, it puts enormous economic pressure on America's Gulf allies and on global markets, which in turn puts political pressure on Trump to stop the bombing. So the U.S. is going after the Navy directly to remove that leverage. Iran responded to the sinking of its ships by claiming they had struck the USS Abraham Lincoln with 4 ballistic missiles. U.S. Central Command posted a video on X and said bluntly, the Lincoln was not hit. The missiles launched did not even come close. The Lincoln continues to launch aircraft in support of CENTCOM's relentless campaign. This is significant not just as a military fact, but as an information war fact. Iran desperately needs to show its domestic audience and regional allies that it is fighting back effectively. So they make claims that are not true, hoping that the video goes viral before the denial catches up. The U.S. military went on record quickly to kill that narrative. The carrier is fine. The mission continues. Let us talk about what is happening inside Iran right now, because this is where the story gets truly unpredictable. 40 senior Iranian officials are confirmed dead from the strikes on February 28th. 40. Think about what that means for a government trying to function. This was not just the supreme leader. This was the IRGC commander, the secretary of the Supreme Defense Council, senior intelligence officials, military commanders. The chain of command has been decapitated at multiple levels simultaneously. Ali Larijani, who is the head of Iran's Supreme National Security Council and was one of Khamenei's closest advisors, is now the most senior functioning official in the country. He went on Iranian state television on Sunday and made 2 announcements. The first was directed at Iran's enemies. He warned that groups seeking to divide Iran would not be tolerated. He accused the United States and Israel of trying to plunder and break apart the country. He said the Iranian people would not allow the division of their nation.